Greetings, everyone. Welcome to R.I.G's Nintendo Weekend. Today, we'll be looking at what's probably Nintendo's most important game, Donkey Kong. Now, what can I say about this game? This game is great and simple. Or at least its first level is jump over the barrels. Let's see. Climb up the ladders. Oh no! Already? Yes, so why is this game important? Well, many reasons. Number one, this game introduced the character known as Jumpman, who later became Mario, whose design was pretty much had everything to do with either showing off or hiding graphical limitations at the time. For example, the overalls was so they could show the animation of the arm movements. And the hat was so they could avoid having to draw hair. Which I can see that. Okay, on to the second level. Oh wait, I'm sorry, did I say the second level? I meant the third level! Yeah, because for some reason, the NES port Donkey Kong does not have the second stage in Donkey Kong, the Cement Pie Factory stage. Oh! Damn it. Yeah, because in the original arcade Donkey Kong, there were 4 stages: the barrel stage, the Cement Pie Factory stage, this stage with the springs, and the fourth one, the rivet stage. Oh, not again! Oh! And I played many versions of Donkey Kong, and I think the only version that has all 4 stages is the Atari computer version. Well, not including that special version of Donkey Kong that Nintendo released on the Wii, and I think in Europe and in North America on the 3DS a couple years back, as a special edition thing, which has all 4 stages. By the way, Nintendo, it might be a good idea to actually have that released, as a regular release in the Virtual Console library. Or better still, the original Donkey Kong arcade game! Hell, it would be nice if Nintendo included a lot of their old arcade games if Nintendo included a lot of their old arcade games here. Or if they re-released a lot of older arcade games, mostly so people can see where they came from. I mean, there's a couple arcade games that I'm sure a lot of us like to see. Let's see, the arcade version of Donkey Kong, for instance, as well as Donkey Kong Jr., possibly Donkey Kong Jr. Free. And others they can include would be maybe the arcade Mario Brothers that have been released enough times over and over again. And let's see. Maybe Radar Scope. Yeah, a little bit of history lesson. Radar Scope was a game that Nintendo arcade game Nintendo made that was fairly popular in Japan, but when it was brought here, it wasn't nearly as popular, and they almost lost the American arcade scene. Then Miyamoto made Donkey Kong. And Donkey Kong was such a huge success. In fact, they actually used all the unsold Radar Scope cabinets and converted them to Donkey Kong arcade cabinets. Yeah, other games include Sky Skipper, as the only if you don't know why that one should be released. Decent game, but I've already reviewed the less than stellar Atari 2600 port of that thing, which unfortunately is the only home port of that game available. Let's see, avoid the spring piece. Let's see, where to go up there. Come on, Fireball, go up! Yeah, and this game also marks this game definitely has some history behind it. One of the most humorous aspects is when, oh god, for this stage, one of the most humorous aspects is when MCA Universal tried to Nintendo over copyright infringement for Donkey Kong, saying it infringed their copyrights on King Kong. Yeah, and that started with them threatening Coleco, who had the home console rights to the game at the time. Then they went after pretty much everyone who Nintendo licensed the game to. Then they tried to send cease and desist for him, which I think Nintendo was going to comply with until they dug up some interesting tidbits about this game, about the King Kong copyright. Let's see, get away from these guys. Let's see. Kill this guy with the hammer. Yeah, Nintendo found out that one of the lawyers Nintendo hired, John J. Kirby, helped discover that not only the King and they found out that not only for King Kong copyrights, that not only was the basic premise of the plot in public domain, but Universal themselves had a couple years earlier successfully argued that. Which paved the way for the 1975 remake of King Kong. So, needless to say, the judge threw out that case. They mentioned even if it wasn't for that, he still would have thrown it out. Yeah, the same company arguing that the work is in public domain, then a couple years later they say they had sole rights to it. Nice try, Universal. Good going. And of course, they tried appealing that a few times until the judge basically told them what they were doing was basically judicial abuse, and that they were basically trying to use the courts to charge profit whenever it fit their purposes. Okay, good luck getting through this game on the second playthrough. Yeah, because this game, just like most 80s arcade games, they get harder with every playthrough. Though this version is... Oh! Damn it! Oh. Though the NES version, in fact, most of the home ports are much, much easier than the arcade version of Donkey Kong. Which is extremely difficult. Let's see, what impact has this game left on the gaming world? Let's see, creating Mario, the character who, a couple years later in Super Mario Bros. Would save the gaming industry in North America. And while spawning several series, which broke off of Donkey Kong. It split off into a Donkey Kong series, which eventually became which eventually led to a Donkey Kong Country series. Into a series of Donkey Kong games. Interestingly enough, if you played Donkey Kong Country, you might remember a character there named Cranky Kong. Yeah, Cranky Kong is actually this Donkey Kong, who's throwing barrels at Mario right now. Yeah, he's a character known as Cranky Kong in Donkey Kong Country. And the Donkey Kong you play as there is presumably either Donkey Kong Jr. or Donkey Kong Jr.'s son. Though Donkey Kong 64 makes it clear that it's Donkey Kong Jr. As I remember playing a couple minutes of that game, and within the first 5 minutes of the game, Cranky refers to, "Oh, not again!" Yeah, Cranky refers to Donkey Kong as his son. But interestingly, that is not stuck in any of Donkey Kong Country games since, even the remakes to the Game Boy Advance. And of course, it's also paved the way to Mario Brothers and the many series that broke out of that, such as the Mario Sports games and the Super Mario Brothers series, which in itself could be broken into a couple series. Yeah, when you look closely to the Mario series, it's actually a bit of a confusing mess. Yeah, the plot of this game, basic as all hell. Classic damsel in distress scenario. With the, oh, no! With damsel in distress being a woman named Pauline instead of Peach, as in, like in later games. Or as Peach used to be called in North America, at least, Princess Toadstool. All the way up until Super Mario 64, though she was referred to as Peach in a game called Yoshi's Safari. And an allusion to her real name is given in Super Mario R.I.G. But yeah, Donkey Kong, really great game. Very important to the history of gaming. And solid platforming fun. And a game that still holds off after, gosh, how old is this game? This game is, I think, 33 years old. Yeah, it came out in 1981. So a 33-year-old game, it still holds up after all these years. And yeah, interesting to see how the Mario character evolved from this guy with red overalls and blue, and basically symbols out to the character eventually showed up in the Super Mario Bros. Games. Though his appearance in the NES version of the original game, not really much of is very similar to this depiction of Mario. Which is probably based off of his appearance in Mario Brothers. Which introduced his brother Luigi, who happens to be one of my all-time favorite Mario characters. Oh, crap. Oh my. I am so dead. Oh, maybe not. Talk about a lucky break. Speaking of breaks, watch Donkey Kong fall right in his head again. Is there anything else I can say about this game and its impact on gaming? And the fact that this is a game that pretty much helped save Nintendo? Let's see, maybe one last thing. Donkey Kong's name. I mean, the Kong part comes from, well, it's a commonly used word for monkey, especially, I mean, for ape, especially in Japan. But the word Donkey Kong is but Donkey Kong, well, the origins of the name, there's not much behind it. It literally means, I've seen it translated as both stubborn ape and stupid ape. Both of which fit him at some point. in some way, shape, or form. Huh. I wish the NES version had the animations where when Donkey Kong goes up the ladder. Then again, this was an early NES game. They probably were not sure of its capabilities. I find it interesting that this game could be remade using the arcade stuff, the things from the arcade game. Oh, that was bad. Kind of think, but I find it interesting is that Nintendo has only remade a couple of their games. Though granted, a lot of games don't need to be remade, but many times remakes are greatly superior to their original versions. I mean, take any of the remakes of the first two Final Fantasies, for example. As well as the remakes of, say, Ys. Hell, even when Nintendo remakes their older games, there are significant improvements. Like Super Mario All-Stars, probably the best remake of the original Mario games. I'll be getting to that game eventually. I'll be getting to that eventually. As I do have that game in my collection. Oh, okay. Yeah, not the Wii version, Oh, go to hell, you stupid springs! But the original Super Nintendo version. Yeah, and other games they remade. Well, they've also remade Metroid as Metroid Zero Mission. And, well, actually, they have remade all their flagship games. In one form or another, or at least most of them. They remade... I mean, in Japan, there's a remake of the original Legend of Zelda for a Satellaview add-on. Though, as that game is only available for there, it barely counts as an actual remake. And even the series that did not make it to North America for a long time, Fire Emblem, they eventually released they did remake the first game in the Fire Emblem series. We have one that came out here for DS as Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon. Actually, the original one was actually remade a couple of times. Once for Super Nintendo with its sequel, and again for DS. Interestingly, is that on Japanese Virtual Console, it has the NES. I think the NES version of one of the first two Fire Emblem games, with its for the Famicom, and they also have the remake for Super Nintendo, which includes both games. That's a very smart Nintendo. Why would you release? I mean, come on, given the Virtual Console prices, what do you think most people will probably get? The one only has one of them, or the NES version of just one of the games, or a Super Nintendo version that has both of them? Take your pick. Now that's a series I'm surprised didn't make it to the US a lot sooner. I mean, it didn't come. I mean, neither of it or its other strategy RPG, Advanced Wars, made it to the US until the early to mid 2000s. But it could have brought it in earlier. I mean, they should have seen the writing on the wall there with the success of games like Final Fantasy Tactics. But that's a subject for another time. This is Donkey Kong, not other series. But let's give me ideas for future episodes. So yeah, is there much more to say about Donkey Kong? Nope. You can just watch me we can just watch Donkey Kong follow his head one more time. Unless these guys get me again. Hopefully this time without being trapped. Take down the rivets. That was close. That was really close. Let's see. Oh yes, your history, Donkey Kong. Interestingly, the original story is that he dies, but well, Donkey Kong Country is proof that he didn't die since he's seen there as an old man, as an old ape. They could also include original music for this game for the ending sequence. And of course, Donkey Kong's presence in the two sequels of this game is proof that he definitely survived. I mean, he is captured by Mario in Donkey Kong Jr. Yes, that's probably the only time you can think of which Mario is actually a villain. So he's probably one of the few video game characters that has been both the hero and a villain at one point. Of course, Mario wasn't. Of course, Donkey Kong was in Donkey Kong 3, but Mario wasn't. I think Donkey Kong 3 had a character called Stanley the Bugman, who would never appeared again after Donkey Kong 3. I mean, that game pretty much killed the Donkey Kong series. I mean, especially since it's so radically different, but that's the story for another time. I'll end the video here. Well, hope you guys enjoyed it. I know I certainly did. Well, until next time, everyone.